Okay, hi, welcome back to Plusma-cast. I'm Paul, and the show where we speak with professionals of the creative industry. So this week I have Vincent Soo of Vermaze and his own outfit and doing work in the user interface and user experience
Yes.
worker. So it's a very new, it can be said, it's a new kind of work.
It's get actually quite trendy like last few years. I think it slowed down in this year.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So we're going to go into detail of not just his story of how he became a professional in the UX UI field, but also just for the sake of information and definitely my own clarification, what it entails. So Vincent, thank you.
So basically, I just introduce myself.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we'll start with first is, what is the definition of UI UX?
Okay. So in short, UI basically means user interface. It's whatever you see in your when in your mobile phone you open any apps. Let's say you open for Facebook, whatever you see there is the buttons, the navigations, or is the UI. Something that you can see the design, even the blue line, and all the cards that you see in your Facebook is basically is a UI. So the UX part is basically user experience. Whatever how you actually you press a light, then you will see some micro interaction. Like maybe when you press light, you're able to choose four expressions. This is basically UX. How how the designer actually want to guide you to the correct user experience. So in the end, you will feel that the apps is basically the UI and the UX. They're supposed to combine together to give you the best experience. Yeah, but nowadays you actually will see maybe you will see a positions like user experience designer, user or UI designer. Some companies actually kind of like they separate these two positions.
All right.
But for me, they should both to be combined unless your company have a lot of resource, they're able to invest on this role, like separate role,
Okay.
just for specific UI and UX.
Okay, and you mentioned a web app like, which is Facebook or mobile, but it's not limited to that, right?
Yeah, it can be a lot, but currently, whatever the industry that you see for whenever people mention about UI and UX, it's mostly for the mobile apps or the web apps itself. Yeah.
But not limited to that, like it can
Yes.
also be games, it could also be industrial software.
Yes.
And all right. So what are the skills that define the UI UX?
One of the skills that define the
Yeah.
UI UX, both if you see on it, both is actually quite different. UI is basically more on the design part where you have to craft out the interface, you have to craft out the all the components, all the card design. But the UX is more on the philosophy of or more about the flow, how you want to guide the user to the correct places.
Right.
So let's say your clients want to make a payment, so they basically want to have a product and guide them to in the end pay the money. Okay, so you basically have to create the experience where you can guide the user from the products to the payment stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. So, but this is not necessarily. Now, when you got into this work early on, was it something that you decided very early when you were young that, hey, I'll do this? Or was there some, what were your earliest ideas? Hey.
Earliest is very different from what I think. When I just start going to academies, that time I basically just want to build games. So so I do some research. In order to do games, I need to know some coding. I need to know make graphics. I need to know how to draw, how to create characters. Okay, then that's why I basically go to academy and I took for the multimedia course where I basically can touch every range of some part about video, some part about coding, some part about making web design, some part about making other stuff. So multimedia is a mix of all the media together. Yeah, so from there, I kind of touch Flash. So when the beginning of my career, I'm not really not straight go for. Yeah, when I first grade, I basically go for web career, But that time I basically want to become more into the games industry.
Right.
But back then, like 8 years ago, the game industry in Malaysia is there's no one know about it. It's very risky. You know, not much company that's going to hire for game designer.
I mean, it's very limited field.
Yeah,
at the
it's
time.
very limited.
Okay.
Yeah, so by the time it's still my interest, it's still what I actually like to do, what I wish to go there. That's why in the college time, I basically do a lot of flash animations, some some mini games, some projects, the school projects.
Right.
Then when I graduate, I still join a digital agency, which is doing a lot of web design, banners, mostly digital products. Mostly all the clients is aimed for digital stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got into multimedia in your course.
Yeah.
But it was generally you had a focus that hey, maybe I want to do games.
Yeah.
But then you did in a course which is a very general multimedia course.
Yes.
What was the experience like in the academic situation? Like, okay, so I'm trying to capture here is that as a student transitioning from one form of schooling to more specialized or more focused type of schooling, what could be the experience one may expect? Maybe, we dress casual, or maybe this is the type of environment. Could you describe some of that experiences?
When I'm in academy, I can tell you every time I'm late for my classes, when I even late until the lecturer asked me to a room and asked me, so next time how do you go to work? I say I will find a job that able to go for late. I just tell them, but I still try to make it on time because the academy that I study is the One Academy. So it's basically staying in like Subang Jaya, but I actually stay in Setapak that time. So to travel to there, it would take me roughly around 1 hour to 2 hours, depends on the traffic. That's why sometimes I basically were late for the classes because the traffic is very unpredictable. So the experience is whenever I touch a lot of things, in a certain point, the academy will still ask you, what kind of courses that you want to focus. So I'm studying like there in around 3 years. First year is basically your foundations. The second year is basically you kind of like you started to know what is multimedia. And I think the third year they ask you, which direction you want to go. Either you want to go for videos industry,
right,
or you want to go for I think there's a sound courses as well, but because not very popular, they're closed down already. Then I basically choose for the web digital versions. Yeah, but the time actually they try to coming out of game courses as well.
Right.
But of course, the game that time just started out. So we basically able to touch a bit about it. So basically they have around like one or two courses. Like let's say you have 5 courses, but maybe like one course they ask you to pick maybe like 10 courses.
Okay.
So you have to pick like among this list you have to pick 5. So the next quarter or the next semester you're basically going to attend for these 5 courses only. So you slowly have to like from a lot of courses, you slowly scale down to whatever you want to focus.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the later years, you get more specific.
Yeah.
Okay. Then when you came out, one of the things I found interesting was that you managed to bag yourself a few student awards.
Yeah. Those student awards is I remember one is a video award.
Okay.
This is nothing to tie with one. When I actually want to choose my major, I kind of like doubt it because apparently my lecturers told me my video project is much more impressive on whatever I do for the digital product stuff.
Okay.
So I like, but I still more interested on that. Video is not something that I'm really looking for.
These prizes were something that maybe. Was it something that you were actively trying to achieve, or was it something that, hey, I put this much work and then and people were encouraging me, let's just see what happens? Was that how you were doing it?
No. The time when I started to join the academy itself, I already sort of have a goal that I basically want to do things that related to digital stuff.
Okay.
By the time it's the games, I basically want to create the games. I'm interested to create the games. When I fresh grad, I basically joined for digital. Yeah, but after like I think 2 or 3 years, I basically start to create my own games.
Right.
I start to participate for competition as well. That's 1 or 2 years. I basically just try to finish up the games and yeah.
Okay, and it was it was
Uh,
it was impressive. Not that hey they give you a prize for it.
yeah.
Okay.
Basically, I joined for the MSc. Every year, they basically have these competitions for you to like won certain amount of money to basically finish up the games. So that time I try to pitch my ideas and I do a proposal, do a prototypes. Then I just submit it. Then luckily I've been like at least one of the winner. Then I get a granted. So that's around 2 years. I try to finish up the games. It's definitely a very hard experience. The time that the industry is not very mature, I would say. Even you want to find for games design job, yeah, you certainly have few options, but the working condition is not very okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, before we get into work conditions,
Yeah.
I'll just just ask a bit more about this experience of you. Now, one thing is that okay, you had the idea and you made these games, and you pitched it.
Yeah.
Now the question is that a lot of people will probably say, hey, I want to do a game and we design something. But was there any assistance or guidance to say, hey, to point out, hey, maybe this idea, this game is all right, but there's it doesn't need this feature, or maybe you should try this feature. Was there any coaching or any guidance to basically help steer your project?
The time definitely doesn't have all these constructions. Even you go for those mentor will just see whether your progress, whatever you pitch. So let's say you pitch them in a project, you basically have these games. Of course, your games don't too ambitious, else you can't complete. So in that game, you basically have list down the functionality or the items, or the game design, how it look like. Yeah, then with the prototypes, how the games look like. Yeah, so definitely doesn't have a lot of structure, because basically the time what I build is just a running games.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a small game, but I'm ambitious. I go for 3D. Yeah, I want to build something like a Sonic one, the super like 3D one, but too ambitious. I should scale down, whatever that I'm able to build out, but because of that, it's actually wasted a lot of time, wasted a lot of money because of the 3D itself.
Right.
Yeah. But it's a fun progress whenever you try to brainstorm out of games and try to come up all this. You have to structure yourself. You have to visualize that how the complete product will look like. Because it's a small game, that's why you're able to visualize. You're able to think of the features that you're going to put in. Of course, if in the end, if let's say the deadline is time, then until the time you have to prioritize like which one you have to cut off.
Right.
Yeah. Of course, that until the time you only will see like which one you have to cut off because of the timeline. Yeah, when you go for the developments, you kind of focus all the coding, all the design, until there's a certain point you think that it's hard to put in this feature, then you will know which one to cut off already.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't have a specific how you should cut off that.
Very interesting. So okay, moving on. So you got your certificate from the One Academy, and you got a couple of prizes under your belt for your games as you've quite storied. Then moving on into professional work. Okay, how was that first experience of it?
To be honest, I think if let's say you are a design industry, when you actually fresh grad, that's what I feel. A lot of companies actually want to hire you. I would say that the time I graduated is around 2009.
Yes.
The time the economy is not good at all. A lot of agency they basically shut down to not hiring anymore. But because they actually know that they still need designer, that's why they open for hiring. And fresh grad is basically won't take them too much budgets to hire one. So I would say I think it's easy to find job.
I mean, it's probably easy or easier now that the market has opened up or changed since. But the question is that okay, so you've got this first job. Maybe it took a bit of time to apply. But what was those experiences that hey, you come out of school, you have this expectation that hey, maybe I want to create this game, or maybe I want to apply my skills this way, versus coming into the professional work where there's different expectations of you?
How to say, when you are actually studying, I would say that the One Academy, there are a lot of projects. My life is there basically. I doesn't have my own time a lot. Usually every day assignment. Okay, until 7 days this assignment. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But after you graduate already, the first job I land, you will feel that whatever you learn, it's so tiny that you're not even sure you're able to help on the projects. Okay, what I mean about tiny is you're not sure about the industry process, how they works, where you get the file, how you connect with their file, whatever you learn in the college. So let's say you learn about some coding like HTML or CSS.
Okay.
So you basically keep your file inside your laptop or your computers or your hard disk. But when go to industry, they no longer solve all this in their laptop or computer, personal one. They will store in a place where you can grab. So the time I remember my first job, I went there, actually quite confident about my skill. Okay, I think I'm able to do most of the job. When I see whenever I get my first brief, I'm very confident that I'm able to do it. Like, it's supposed to be easy. I know roughly how to do it. That because I code in HTML, but industry, they're not coding in HTML at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they've gone past that.
Yeah. So my first job is basically more on the front end stuff. I basically want to, they require me to craft out, to modify something in the web page itself. So the funny thing is after they brief me already and I just sit down and I don't know what to do. Why they didn't give me any file, how suppose I'm going to change all this? Then I just literally sit down like 1 hour. I don't know what to do, I just get a brief.
Yeah.
Then I just ask one of my senior, hey, that person actually briefed me and I get all this brief, but I don't know what to do.
Right.
Yeah. So then they actually slowly guide me. Then you will slowly learn about the industry, practice how they do, what their process they're doing. Yeah, that's actually the experience that even no matter how confident you are, it's still your own workflow. But whenever go to industry, I would say each company maybe they sort of their own working flow where you have to adapt. But maybe you go for a few companies already, you will sort of find out patterns like how they actually work. Or some even company more worse, they don't have a process. So it's more messy. If you are a fresh grad, you join those company, you don't know what to do, and they don't know what to do as well. Then you just hang together.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so there might be challenges
there will be challenges. So if let's say fresh grad, I'll basically recommend to join some company that at least they have that's quite big or medium size or business already, not really small. Because small, everyone don't know what they're doing. You also don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I
mean, part of your experience, you described that on the one hand, you tried, you did a bit of teaching, and also you did a bit of freelancing.
Yeah.
So was that more experimental, or was that more in the one hand, was it trying something different, or is that something going, hey, maybe I'll do this way instead, do things this way instead?
As my skill develops, how I develop my skill is I think I have a broad skill. Doesn't really very focus on a specific part.
Right.
But mostly still on the design and the digital part. That's why the period that I'm teaching is because I still building my games. But in order to sustain my living, I basically have to do some freelance work. And I actually thought of maybe do some teaching, so will be maybe I have a different point of view about the teaching education industry.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I go for part time for teaching the web design course. Yeah.
Okay. So you said because you were doing your own project.
Yes.
Then you say, hey, I still need to as much as I need to dedicate time to my projects.
Yes.
Then I would need to still find maybe an alternate
Yes,
source of income, and that's why you did the teaching.
Yes.
Okay, so from an agency, okay, from an agency, and then you move into these initiatives. I guess what I'm trying to get at is that, okay, teaching, from so-called having a certain experience and then going back into teaching, was it something that you impart, or was that something that maybe you might gain what the students are, you might gain what are the students trying to experience here? What was that line of work about?
Basically teaching is just want to see what we're able to offer to the communities. And the second thing, I actually want to brush out my soft skill as well. Because I go for teaching. But the teaching actually give me another experience where you have to passionately guide the students. They actually have a lot of their opinions, and you have to, it's very different from whatever the industry work that you do. From work, you basically focus on your work, how you basically deliver the work. But when you go for education, you basically want to how you actually can make the students improve day by day for whatever you teach them. Or whatever skill that you pro to them. And sometimes you will actually get, am I teaching right or wrong? You will have this, because sometimes whenever you deliver something, you might think it's not a best practice. You still constantly growing yourself. But at the same time, when you teach, you're just trying to give all the information. If let's say it's a new technology, of course, sometimes you will worry that you will teach wrong in a way that you might give not a best practice to them. Yeah, but of course I didn't. Okay, I think I did a good job. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't there to be your student to check lah. Okay.
Yeah.
Then on the other hand, you also did freelancing.
Yeah.
Okay, so there were probably people looking for projects done by freelancers. So how was that experience? Because then, from an agency handing you your brief, as you mentioned earlier, now you have got to find your own client, you've got to manage your own, income and revenue, these type of things.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It's very different. Whenever you are working with someone, you just basically have to do your job. Okay, then you basically just deliver the job. But whenever you have a business, you have to think a lot of point of view already. You have to think about your cash flow. You have to think about how you get how to pitch your projects, how you get the new clients. Okay, it's more on the paperwork. A lot of networkings. Maybe the project parts. It's just a small part of it. Yeah, the most important is you have to understand other people's business, how you can help them to solve. So if let's say I'm going to recommend them whenever they work, not just focus on all their work, they have to think about why the business need this. That's why a lot of conflict between designer and the marketing part. Because sometimes you are not understand why they want to do this, or they did this is just ugly your design, and whatever and in their point of view, maybe it's like you are very hard to work with because you just don't want to get all the information for them. You think it's ugly whatever they provide you. Yeah. So try to understand each other is very important. So I think the experience is very right now that I experience is very different from whatever when I work in the industry itself, like with people. You basically just have to, let's say your position is UI UX, you just have to deliver the UI UX job. But when come to the business, you just have to be everything.
Right.
Yeah, from accountings to everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So after a certain phase of working on your own projects, you went back into, I don't know whether to describe it as whether went back to industry as such, because the next thing you did was with Mind Valley.
I see. Sorry. Back then to there, I don't have much directions.
Okay.
Like whenever I go for making the game style, I basically just want to make the game style. At the same time, I think I need to invest more time. That's why I quit for a full time for that. Then I basically do freelance and the teaching job. Yeah. But after that, because I don't have any directions, I don't know how to run a business. I basically you still have the mindset of like working with someone. I just have to do the design job nicely.
Right.
Then probably I'll get the jobs. but then slowly you will feel it's very lonely, because all the time I'm just one person. Then for around like a few years already, then I see that you start to question yourself a lot, whether whatever you do is the correct way, Then start to think, I need to find a team and join them, and slowly, connect back with the industry people, and see, what's the best practice is. And the time I found My Valley is a really cool company. They have a broad culture, which is very different from whatever company that I see at the time. Yeah, that's why I just take a shot and try to join the company. Yeah.
Okay. So from one sort of employment culture, so to speak, and then years later you join Man Valley. It's a very different culture. So was that a positive experience that helped you find your goals, or because that?
Yeah. I mean, joining My Valley it given me a different perspective, because the way the culture that they have, they basically have remote workings where you're able to work from home or anywhere you want, or they also have a multicultural where you're able to connect with other country peoples. So you will start to know about their cultures, and yeah, it's just I think that time in the moment I just feel is a very different company. It's a company that I wish to build that kind of companies. There's no boundaries. That's even you remote working, there's a method to actually track whether you have deliver your work or not. It's not just like you remote working, then the work you will magically get done. Okay, no, you still have a deadline. You still have the work. Then you're in there. I also learned to how to communicate with when people are doing remotely, how you can actually communicate with them.
Right.
It's still the practicing. I'll say that time I joined, the remote working flow or the structure is not very solid. Everyone is still testing, is still experiment a lot of stuff. How can we actually doing a remote communication better?
Sure.
Yeah, and all these things. So it actually opened out another different view of me. And My Valley is basically, I think their digital marketing is very good. That's why all the project whenever you done already, if you put you actually invest time to understand about the business itself, you actually will learn the digital marketing is how they did it. I think is able to get a lot of conversions for whatever they do.
Right.
Yeah.
So you picked up. I mean, not only was it a different culture experience, but it was also a lot of useful skills that you can incorporate into your own.
Yes.
Okay. So moving on, Mind Valley and Saishia on your own. I mean, you went to Kautim, and then now you're on your own.
Yeah.
So do you feel that it's the right time one is that do you feel that you're fully equipped, or is there something more that you could improve? Now that
I would say you always think there's something to improve. You never be ready for, if you aim for that, you never be ready.
Okay.
Because things always change. The industry always have a new information. Technology is always upgrading. You never been ready for that. If you've been ready already, something new coming, you might be outdated already. So it's just a goal I set myself that I think I have all this knowledge already. Right now, I just try coming out again, try to establish a more solid business itself.
Right.
With all the knowledge or the past knowledge that I've been doing. But at the same time, I basically also have freelancing, so I try a lot of methods to deal with the clients, whether see the way that you actually pitch the idea to them is working or not. You basically just have to do a lot of A/B testing. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, part of your work is design.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was a designer myself. I did architecture.
Mm-hmm.
For me, there's a lot of paper testing,
Yeah.
paper draft, paper testing, and then when it gets built, there still might be issues. But for you, you designing a software product, so maybe there's less risk or there's more flexibility. I guess the point I'm trying to get is that when doing this design work,
Yeah.
and how much do you dedicate? No, how much do you dedicate yourself to getting it right? For example, where's the first one?
I mean, nowadays, if let's say you are building a products, usually for a software as a service, or you join a software companies where they want to build a software, mainly all the startup they basically want to build products out. You never actually know. Yeah, so that a lot of designer actually that's a problem. Whenever they design already, they just thought like, whatever I think or whatever the marketing or the spec give me is the correct. They never further validate it.
Right.
So whenever I join cloud teams, I actually in there I try a lot of ways to validate my design itself. That's why I come out a lot of frameworks like user interview. So whatever I've done already, I will do a prototypes. Then I'll basically find a few person. Then I'll interview them. Basically come out a goal, what I want to achieve. Whenever I interview them, what I want to achieve in the end of the interview. Then I'll show them a few design. Then basically walk through them the design and see how they interact with it. That's how I get the feedback and improve. If let's say you actually want to interview for 10%, so if you interview for 3%, the 3% basically give like they actually not really want to use this, and then already then straight change the design. Then the other interview you basically can show them a new design, then get the feedback again.
Right.
Then let's say not good again, you change again.
Right.
So each time my method is a 3-3-3. So it's three feedback already, then I will change something. 3 feedback already, I'll change something. So that's how I actually validate the design itself until I know the outcome. At least it's almost complete. It's what the user the experience is good. The UI is there, the design is there, and this is what the people want to use.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how I validate the ideas.
Okay, so there's still a phase of design and testing, which is quite.
Yes.
And this is testing happens before deployment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You don't want to. Let's say you're going to build something very complicated, and your developers actually say like, "I'm going to need 3 months to build this." You have to understand, in companies to have to invest a development team to invest 3 months to build that out, and if let's say the outcome is not the people want to use it, then we wasted like 3 months. 3 months is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
sure.
So before that, we basically do prototypes, interview people, try to get a lot of feedback. We change a lot. The design could change much more easily than the developments. Once you go to development already, you want to change that spec, you will drag longer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, like I said, part of the challenge of working in architecture is that it's a little hard for us to prototype a full building.
I mean, even now it's very different. Right now the product, I would say there's a lot of tools able to help you to track your design. You can track for heat map. You can do for video recordings, how the user use your interface. You can do a video recording how they actually interact your interface.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean after you release your product already, but you still don't know whether your design is going to work for billions or millions of people. Then you of course you have to do some trackings. That where all the heat map and video recordings coming out.
Yeah, I mean when things are data, it's quite easy to track.
Yeah.
When things are data. Okay, what other challenges in your professional life that probably you could describe as in, okay, maybe a tight deadline, or maybe some of the office culture that you might be able to describe. What are some of your bigger challenges in working UI UX?
Bigger challenge is I think whenever you just join for, I'm not sure now, I think now will be better a bit. But if let's say you just join a small startup, a company don't know what to do, then will be very hard for you to grow. Okay. Right. The reason why I mentioned right now is the challenge is a lot of companies actually don't know why they want to invest on design. Okay. They even don't know. They just thought like, I'm going to hire a designer. That designer going to help me craft beautiful design. That's all. That's all. And that's why that's where your value is defined already. That's where there's going to set your value is there. You want to say, okay, designer is just going to craft the design, going to be better, and all the whatever things will be decided by another team. Maybe usually is product owners or the marketing person.
Mhm.
So you when they hire you, they just expect you to make the design beautiful, but they actually don't know what the purpose. They just look design. The design is look nice. I think should be work okay. That's all. So they don't know actually what to expect. So if you know your value, you basically know what you are doing. You basically know the design that you did, what could actually impact for the business itself.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the challenge is basically to know why they want to invest on the design team and what the design team able to help them for the business. Okay.
Mhm.
So whenever I join our team, I don't think that they have a clue of like. I mean, this is not just specific that I mean, most of the startup, most of the company, they have this problem as well. So the job that you do is basically constantly let them know the design value. Okay, whatever you do, you have a think of way to make the improvement with a logical way. It's just not like I think the font right is small 2 pixel. That's why people that have difficult problems of that or the color problems. This is something they don't care, the color, the typography, they don't care. In the end, they just care about whether your design able to help on the business. There's an impact on the business.
Mhm.
If you see on the marketing team, they will say, I help you to generate how much, but for the design team, how are you going to measure that? You can't help. That's why you have to make sure the user experience based on maybe if you build a mobile apps, if the mobile apps people comment on their Google Play or the App Store, they give good feedback. They say, it's very easy to use. That's actually is a design thing, It's basically people think that your apps is very easy to use. That's all this contribution is back to the design because you actually create the experience for them. You make the experience good. That's why they feel like, it's very easy to book. It's very easy to do a scheduling. Yeah, all this is a user experience part and how your UI basically got them to tie in your UX. So it's a whole philosophy. You have to know your value in there. Yeah. So if let's say you don't know, you just crop a design, you just think, you just care about the look, you care about the typography. Yes, you still have to care about all this. But I mean, if you want to go for the next level, you have to think about how all this will impact the business itself. That's what actually decide your value.
No, actually, that's very good. That's very good. Okay. So this, I mean, you just defined that, hey, this is my value. This is what you should understand your value.
Yes.
And your contributions.
Yes.
Okay. So those are the challenges. What about, some of your other, would there be, let's go to the flip side. Would there be some best moments in your later career?
Best moment. What kind of best moment? I don't know, in my daily job, I just basically concentrate thinking about, how to improve.
Right.
Even there's a period you don't have much stuff to do, I will still come up a framework, maybe a design system. So I don't need to care so much about the UI. I just have to care about the UX a lot. I just constantly, improving myself. I mean, the best moment, like I don't have a time for like chilling or smoking cigar in there. You basically just constantly improving, how you can make things better, or how you can optimize your process. So you don't need to spend more time on that particular. So let's say you create a design. I don't want to every time I create a design, I need to create a button again. So I'm going to create a standardized button. I'm going to standardize everything.
Right.
Yeah. Then I will reuse back everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably I'll just say that the best is yet to come. I mean, that's putting words in your mouth, but probably the best is still yet to come. So having been in this industry for almost 10 years now, okay, what do you see as the trend of UI UX? Because there's a lot, I mean, as we covered earlier, there's a lot of place to apply your skills.
Yes.
A lot of platforms, a lot of applications, a lot of avenues. So I'm asking is that, okay, it's probably still growing, and where do you see it? What's the trend that could be happening in the future?
Trend, actually right now I see a lot of company like earlier I say that a lot of company actually separate the role of UI and UX. Then right now you still have a new job coming in where they call UX writer. Okay, basically people who write the copywriter who write for UX content.
Mhm.
So I will see. I think this role will always evolve to something else. Previously, they call product design. They don't really call UI UX. Then suddenly, I think people are more comfortable calling UI UX.
Right.
Then suddenly, I think that the job will keep evolve to others naming, but the job load that you're going to do, it's roughly the same. You still the crafting the UI is still not going to run out anyway. There's VR coming in. There's a lot of maybe hologram. All this is require new UI.
Right.
You're seeing in your mobile UI, whenever the VR come already, you cannot apply your mobile UI to a VR UI. You have to recraft the UI, or maybe your automation car. All this UI you basically have to recraft. Then you have to rethink why all this UI, how to tie to the user experience itself. So I think the job will keep evolving.
Right.
It really depends on, especially nowadays, a lot of new technologies coming in.
Sure.
A lot of exciting. So I think this industry, the job itself will still expand. Maybe the title will change to something else, but whatever you do is still the same. Yeah.
Oh, very good, very good. Okay, so now we'll get into the part where I sort of like start closing up the show. It's my 3 questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so for you, having having been through all this and just having told your story, my first question is that for those who, whether you're a student or a teen wanting to get into UI UX as a field, what advice do you have for them?
For student-wise, I'm not sure whenever you're studying right now, they have a specific called UI UX courses.
Right.
I don't think there's much, especially in Malaysia. I think there's still called multimedia, there's still called advertisement, or all these. But I think if you are a student, you just make yourself a goal what you want to do. Ask yourself, in maybe 2 years, what kind of designer you want to be. Do you want to be more on the digital side, or you want to be more on the advertisement printing side? Yeah, decide what kind of designer you want to be. Then when you're fresh already, find those company that able to grow yourself.
Okay. So as a student, just try to explore yourself so that you know where you like to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So for one who is going, that gets to the next question. For those who is wanting to, I've already decided I want to do UI UX, and how do I gain my skills? What do I? Yeah, what advice would you have for them to gain their skills?
You mean they're already a designer, or
no? They're studying to be a designer, perhaps.
Okay, study. Right now, if you online, there's a lot of courses about UI UX. Of course, you don't go general. You basically have a lot of courses, so you try to find for a specific website that they actually have offer all these courses. I think try to attend it. It's more efficiency than whatever, because the industry itself right now actually is still don't have a solid how this UI UX going to be. I don't think there's a best solutions for UX process should be like that. It's keep evolving. The process is keep evolving. So you basically have to jump in and solve a lot of products problems. Then I think you with all this experience, you will know. So let's say your clients want to build or mobile apps. So you try to solve their problems. Then based on all this experience, I think whenever future products come out, you have a clue of what kind of process you can adapt on it. Because technology is keep improving, there's no correct process, I would say. There's always different one. Yeah.
Okay. And lastly, as a new professional coming into the industry, so you've got your idea, you've developed your skills around it. Now say, hey, my first job or maybe my first project.
Okay.
So what advice might you have for them to get started in the industry?
Again, depends on what you want. I think when you first started, you don't so focus on the salary itself. No matter where you go, it's still low. Because you have to understand, you doesn't have anything that could impact their business. That's why they could not invest you unless you can pitch something that have straight impact to their business. Then you can get a lot of money. But if let's say you just have a skill that you're able to craft out a UI and you have a minor understanding of the UX, then basically you just join a company that align to your own goal, then grow from there. Yeah, that's what I say. I would say the salary part, it will grow after like 2 or 3 years when they will understand what your value is.
Mm-hmm.
Then your value will basically grow from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are the 3 questions that kind of end my show. But let me there's one more. That's for you. Okay. Last one. Is there anything that you'd like to plug or to last words? Last words for yourself.
I don't have anything. I mean, if you are in this industry, you just have to constantly find a way to improve yourself. Align with the current technology, and know what you actually want, so you could actually know what your value is.
Right.
Then you can better sell yourself, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, for more information, you can speak with Vincent. Your website is www.vermaze.com,
Yeah,
right?
you can just go to Vermaze, so vermaze.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could follow as the link as he just described, or you could look into the description, or after this show we have our end slide where you can where we put the information on where to get in contact with Vincent for more questions or inquiries. So with that, thank you very much, Vincent.
Sure.
You've now marked my number 10th episode.
Okay.
All right. So
congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so again, I'm Paul, speaking with Vincent about the interesting field of UI UX, and this has been Plusma-cast. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you.
That's all.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.